Language is really beautiful, but it easily fools us because we want to be part of the pack. We want to be average. We want to make ourselves perceive ourselves as average, or at least part of the norm. And then we want to perceive ourselves as not an outlier, right? It's not divergent. We want to be better, but we don't want to be divergent, right? It is different. So all these factors, these instincts combine together with the use of our language, and
that we don't want to be excommunicated.
Actually, we don't. We're so afraid of our status externally and our self-image internally that we do almost everything to protect it. It's just like it's part of neural economy, and that's what the problem with female neuroticism is that they're hypersensitive to changes in their self-image and status, and so they'll bias all these falsehoods in order to maintain self-image and status. Because if they have to maintain their self-image in particular, what they'll have to do is audit all those emotions that they can't get their arms around. And when instead what they enjoy, especially watch women do this, they enjoy the experience of those emotions. So I always tell my trainer, when I go to the weights, I have to do some clean and presses, and I have to do some bench presses, because the clean and press matters to me. Because I need to do my whole body in concert. If I do that, I feel good. So all these, I understand they want to isolate muscles and the whole thing, but that's okay. But I have to start with some full body exercise, or I don't feel good. Now, try to imagine that. So in other words, that's what feels good to me, right? So imagine you're a woman and you want to exercise all your full range of emotions to feel good.
Oh
right?
my.
Right. So I think this is the best analogy I can come up with. Right. Is it good enough? Does it make the point?
Yes.
Right. And so the woman, so just like we can organize, one of the major differences between men and women is we can organize more complex sets of muscles over broader ranges. So that's why we tend to be better at full body motion, athletic nonsense, right? They can do it. I mean, some of them can, but men tend to be better at throwing the spear is the great example, right? Watch women throw a ball and it's fucking hysterical. It'll make you laugh every time, right? So, yes. Anyway, whereas their dancing is really fantastic, right? Why? Because what's the difference in feeling time between dancing and ball throwing? It's fascinating. Income, outcome.
Oh, right.
Income, outcome.
Time. Yeah.
Time.
Yep.
So you see all these things, and I wonder. I'm dumping like great insights here that I don't know if I've captured all.
It's good.
So where was I going? I lost it again.
Women expression, full body expression, emotional expression. Women need to exercise their full range of emotional.
Yeah. So we did this, and we did this. So there's this demand by women to want to experience emotions. So like when a woman is fucking with you, when you're the mate, she's trying to get entertainment by riling you some way, right? So this is the problem. Children will rile her and she will rile her children. That's useful. But the minute it gets directed at a husband, it's not good. And the minute there's no husband, it gets directed to society, it's even worse. And once it's directed to society, and then it's able to be institutionalized through mass media. And then there's people who out there make money by riling up these women, by promoting them with emotional entertainment. You understand? It's the same thing as guys watching porn.
Oh, yeah.
It's exactly the same thing.
Yes.
So we want to feel that feeling. That feeling is good. So they have their thing. Now for us, it's muscular movement. It's intellectual abstraction. It's crafting things, building, changing the state of the universe, hitting things with sticks, right? Right. It's conducting a hunt. For them, it's more emotional interaction. So the way we craft the world, they try to craft people. Does that make sense? So we use force on the world. They use seduction and manipulation.
Emotional operations.
So it's completely rational that they want to do that. But But if it's misdirected, it's fucking horrible. And it's just as rich a means of manipulation and deceit and seduction as all our technologies of science and logic, right? We just don't see it because, frankly, we're men and we're immune.
I like ran into this lady and she's tested herself for COVID 3 times. And I'm like, in 3 days, I'm like, why? Why are you doing this? Stop it. Stop. They gave away all these home tests. And it's like, why are you? They're trying to feed this neurotic thing.
That's right. Right. Because they want to feel the emotion. But that's the problem with neural economy, is that your body evolved to have a baseline stimulation, right? You will seek to fulfill that baseline. Right? You will seek to not overload that baseline.
Right.
But you will seek to fulfill that baseline. If you don't, you get what we call boredom. But the actual extreme of boredom is a kind of panic. So they're trying to get emotional fulfillment, right? In order to sedate their neuroticism, which escalates into a panic. So does that make sense? Yeah, so it's what's happening is it's the problem of neural economy isn't that it's one-sided. It's an equilibrium.
Right.
Neural economy can be overloaded, but it can also be underloaded.
Right. That generates anxiety.
Correct. And so the where that comes from is that if you're rested, you evolved to go out and search.
So run around and do stuff, man.
Right. Exactly. And so the problem is if you don't have a way to direct that energy, it becomes like being a caged animal.
You're the cat that's pacing the
correct
cage.
Exactly.
Waiting for the opportunity to go outside and jump on that kid.
So the higher neuroticism, the more fear you have of not absorbing information by searching and hunting. The problem is for men, it's really environmental. It's pretty easy.
We're externally oriented.
We're externally focused, but they're internally focused. And so they're always worried about what is so-and-so thinking about me? What is this going to happen? It's all of these external factors of the people who perceive they're powerless.
Okay, now I'm going to tell you a story. So there's one of the doctors who owned the facility. She says this, she gave me this magic incantation. She says, okay, you can tell that woman is an anxious person, okay? A neurotic, she called her.
Yeah.
And I said, how can you tell? And she says, 4 or more rings.
It's so true.
And I'm like this.
I would have never got there.
For 25 years, I've been like this. I'm like, fuck me, right on the money. And I wouldn't tell it to you unless it was dead nuts on. And it's like under stimulation, right?
Correct. It's stimulation insufficient to suppress the level of neuroticism.
Right. So it goes to this. It's like women that don't have enough kids.
It's all it is.
Right.
It's that simple. It's so frustrating that it's that simple. I have a sister that's pretty neurotic, right? She's a little blonde hottie, right? Which everybody knows this, but one of my mistakes in life isn't marrying her off to some rich college friend of mine, right? Which would have been fantastic for her because you can't trust her judgment as far as you can kick a boulder.
Right.
She's got a high neurotic factor, which is she's got to have that emotional stimulation to deregulate the neuroticism, right? I mean, the problem is we think of neural economy in the overloading because that's what you and I talk about all the time, right? But the real problem, it's also the other problem is if there's not enough stimulation to neural economy, you get what it is. And this is why you get men internalize it by checking out or becoming aggressive and violent or criminal, or most commonly drug abuse. Yeah. And women get it by being what we call psycho or promiscuous or undermining and drug abuse and etc. So we externalize this failure of neural economy differently. But you can overload those people and make them fail, and you can underload those people and make them fail. So there's this whole thing of when we used to be in this little these bands and tribes, which there'd be less than 100 of us. You've got all this regulation around you.
Right.
And so-
Normative functions.
Right, and people are constantly talking. I mean, it's just great. I mean, I would like to see more. They keep doing these interview videos of primitive tribes, but it'd be better to just set up the fucking camera like
Like a trail camera, right?
like a trail camera, and just watch what they do all day, because it's basically prattle. So it's basically like being connected to the internet all the time, and so you're not
noises.
You're not dependent upon your processing alone.
That's right.
You're part of the
you're in a waveguide function. There's a vibe coming in all the time that's saying you're okay. We're okay.
That's why I say, I mean, people, if you have 6 kids, it's amazing to me how stable people from large families are for the same reason. We know single childhood is not good. Single motherhood, single child is not good. But if you can get a full parent family and 2 boys and 2 girls, you're in good condition. You increase those numbers, you're in better condition. Do you still get fuck ups in large families? Of course you do, but I'm just saying, all other things considered, the waveguide,
that's right.
It just turns out to be better because it teaches you compromise, which is the problem, which is why we send kids to school. We don't subject them to constant adversarial competition, and they don't have to be engaged in continuous compromise across generations. One-room schoolhouses were like families,
yes.
Right? You got more stable people out of it, right? So this socialization process helps us maintain our distributed equilibriums, and we want distributed differences in this neuroticism and extroversion, because we want to cover the sensory time-space continuum, right? And so we want those variations. But if you isolate people in rabbit warrens and they don't learn to understand and adapt to, right? Or then we're throwing all the cognitive burden on the individual, and it gets increasingly difficult without without family, without society, and without norms to defend against the downside of which is neuroticism. And it gets increasingly hard to care about getting fully loaded. So what you see is people check out. So that's what's happened to guys. No adversarial competition, no socialization, insufficient training. All right. So they're just checking out, because frankly, video games are pretty awesome.